Hello, beautiful mamas. As a working mom, sometimes I can really feel scattered, unorganized, or simply just rushing from one thing to another and all over the place. Finding time for myself and finding my sanity can almost feel like an impossible dream. Can you relate? Well, this is why I have created my free Mama's Guide to Creating Balance and Harmony as my gift to you. This guide contains my top 10 tips to creating balance and harmony in your life, as well as 3 beautiful trackers to help you get onto your journey in a fun and simple way. I have found by incorporating daily self-care routines and practices in my life for as little as 5 minutes a day, I am feeling more grounded, centered, and calm. By me tapping into my best version through these practices, I am also a better mom, a better partner, and a better colleague. Well, really, just a better human being in all the ways. So, if this sounds like something that you would like to explore, click on the link in the show notes below and download your free guide today.
We were all born with the innate power of knowing and wisdom within us. The challenge for many of us is that we were taught to seek answers externally instead of searching from within. And this is the reason why so many of us find ourselves going around in circles, searching for new ways, but could never find the way. The womanly way. It's not the way. It's not my way. But it is a pathway to support all of us returning back to self, reconnect with our inner wisdom through loving ourselves, knowing ourselves, and reconnecting with ourselves.
Tell me and be honest. Tell me should I've known.
So we can start to find our own way as modern day women. Are you interested? Well, sit back, relax, and welcome to this amazing journey.
Hello. Welcome to this episode of the Womanly Way podcast. I am your host, Lala Angela Wang. I come into this episode feeling a little bit nervous, a little bit exposed, a little bit like, who am I to talk about this? But this is also an aspect of the womanly way, is to understand the mystic, to understand the history of where we stand as female beings, leaders, way showers, healers, and mystics. And the more that I step into this, the more I see myself as a mystic stepping into sage. I'm not quite there yet. I don't think I'm a sage yet, but I know that my higher self is definitely an old soul. So there are some sagey memory, crone-like witchy memories that are slowly coming back to me. And I want to start this episode by honoring the feminine. Right, I think this episode, as I start to channel through the information, as I do the research, the number 13 really is about honoring the divine feminine. And the reason that it's so out of whack, or it's so hidden from history, and it's got such a bad reputation as a number, says a lot about what our society is, or I'm going to say was, trying to hide the magic of the divine feminine. But the magic of number 13 is everywhere, if we even just look at any historical reference, right? So the Chinese calendar, and tomorrow we're celebrating the Moon Festival. The reason that the Chinese calendar sometimes is a whole month behind the Gregorian calendar is because the Chinese calendar actually follows the moon. And if you look at the moon cycle each year, it's not 12 months. It's actually more like 13 months. So that in Chinese calendar, generally every year, you would have what we call a double month, right? There would be a month that year that repeats, that happens twice. And that's why sometimes we are a month behind. So if you read it that way, the Chinese actually honors Mother Earth a lot more because we came from a farming community. The Chinese calendar derives from farming. A lot of our seasons are based on farming. This is obviously deviating a little bit. So if you look at tomorrow, well, today, if you're listening to it on the day that the show is podcast. So the Moon Festival is celebrating in the middle of autumn, celebrating gods and, our ancestors, thanking them for a successful harvest and more to come till the end of the harvest season. They ask blessings to the water god, to the earth god, to the moon, because they understand that in order for them to have a successful harvest, it's not just the sun, it's not just the ground, it's all aspects. And then if you look at what we have newly discovered, 13 sign sidereal, the 13th sign is a hidden sign. It's a hidden sign. So a lot of the mystics and magics of the number 13 is actually hidden. Sometimes people say that, the true origin that number 13 is bad luck comes from the Last Supper. Because it is the 13th apostle of Jesus that caused his death. So it's bad luck. Or I think it's also a saying that the knight of the round table were killed. So the knight of the Templars or the round table were killed, murdered on the 13th. On Friday the 13th. There's also theories that the Last Supper was happening on the 13th, Friday the 13th as well. But this is what I truly believe when I tune into the energy of the 13th. So if you actually read numerologically, 13th means new beginning. It also means let go of a shadow. It made up of number 1 and 3. So 1 is new beginning. 3 is essentially the trilogy. To me, it's a foundation, so all foundations. And then 1 plus 3 is 4, which is bringing things to physical form. So as a number itself, it's one of the most magical number. From a growth perspective, it's really all about stepping into the newer version of you, the new and great version of you, and letting go the shadows. How interesting, right? And I've always have an amazing connection with number 13. That's why I always find connected to 13 sign sidereal. It's really about the occult. The things that people don't want us to know about. The hidden aspect of all the things. And the reason number 12 is so prominent in our society is because of that desire to be perfect, to be in control, because 12 is a perfect number, right? It's multiples of 2, 3, and 4. And you can easily divide it into whatever way that you want. But here's another thing. If you actually look at the way that we look at seasons, does it actually happen? Do you actually get equal months out of every season? Like Australia, spring, almost always in the past 5 years start earlier than the first day of September, right? Our world just does not operate like that. And I think 12 as a number to me almost feel like the ultimate control. We want everything to be perfect, like what we talked about in the last episode. The reason that we want everything to be perfect and done our way is so we can control it, so we feel safe and secure. Number 13 is a bit out of whack. You just don't feel that sense of security. But number 13 is also a spiritual number that connects us to spirit. What's spirit trying to say to us? There's imperfection, but there's perfection in the imperfection. Now, the other school of thought, number 13, is actually a celebration of divine feminine. Friday is Freya's day, which is the goddess of fertility and feminine. You know, and if you look at this perspective, this is how it's linked to really the womanly way. Like, how do we link back more to our feminine? I've gone through a phase where the masculine has been really, really worshipped as gods. For the longest time, we look at God as a female, as a male. But the way that I look at it and the way that I'm learning to see is that there's a father sky and there's a mother earth. In our human existence, there's always a male and a female. I can go into this rabbit hole. There's actually a podcast I've been listening to that delves into this concept of how the mother god has been separated from us human beings, and that's why we have been pushing our advancement in such a masculine way, and that's why so many of the feminine aspects of spirituality has actually been buried or lain dormant. Right? But now, feminine energy is making a comeback. And when I talk feminine energy, I'm not talking about the feminist movement, because the fact that it's called a movement, it's already got a very masculine connotation in it. We are pushing, we're forcing, we're trying to drive more control. And it's a very fear-based energy. So what you would see is some people might see it as contradiction, that I talked about how I support the rising of feminine energy, but I do not support the feminist movement. Because what I truly believe is, for the feminine energy to rise, we need to understand the energy of the feminine energy, which is what a lot of people talk about, leaning back, trust our intuition. And that's why I have a course called Corporate Witchcraft. It's being there doing the masculine thing, but honoring your feminine. So, like for me, career advancement, building a personal brand is no longer something that I push with my brain. It's really something I sit back and I meditate on. I connect with my spirit guide, going with the flow. You know, there is still the doing. That's the masculine part of me. But there's the creating. That is like currents, like a natural flow, like the moon phases. It's really hard to describe, and I think that's why number 13 is so much closely associated with the feminine energy, is because the feminine energy is not a square, it's not a rectangle, it's not a shape. It's something that it feels very fluid and almost feel lopsided, and that's what the number 13 kind of gives me. It's a bit lopsided. But at the same time, it requires so much more courage, right? You need to be so much more courageous to tap into the feminine energy, because it's out of control. It's like water. You can contain it, but it's still out of control. You can never get hold of water without a faucet or without a container. So, what am I trying to say here? Nothing and everything. It's really, the more that I delve into spirituality as my religion, the more curiosity I have around all these myths and mystical things and, fear-based beliefs that we have. And it really makes me question, why has society created this fear-based belief around certain things? And because last Friday was Friday 13th, I was like, I wonder. And this is the thing, when there's enough collective energy around something, even if its intention is good and there's no negativity around it, because there's enough collective fear and negativity around last Friday, you would have seen there's some wacky stuff going on. Right, we have cars breaking down, we had traffic accidents last week. But it just, what really made me realize going through Friday 13th in a different perspective is how powerful collective beliefs are, negatively or positively. But that also gives me so much more faith in, if we can have enough people with the positive beliefs around a certain things, then we can create momentum and change the world. So if really put whatever truth or false information behind Friday 13th, this is a lesson that I have learned. If there's enough collective energy around something, whether it's positive or negative, we will create impact. So for those of us that's like, oh my God, it's doomsday, our world's coming to an end, create the change that you want to create in this world. And have the faith that if there's enough of us doing the positive things, we will create positive shift. And I truly, 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 truly believe in it. The reason that we're seeing so much negativity is because this is thousands upon thousands of years of negativity, negative programming and belief with fear-based mindset. And we are at the time in our life now that we get to take the power back and start to transforming all these fear-based beliefs and a mindset and transmute them into positivity, into love, into peace, into having trust and faith in ourselves first, and then in whatever religion, belief, spirituality that you want to believe in. How magical is that? How magical is that? And so even though I started this episode by talking about the myths of Friday 13th, the history of Friday 13th, and perhaps the truth about Friday 13th, my biggest takeaway from experiencing it myself, if I took nothing else away about this day, is really have faith in the magic. Have faith in the magic. Life is magical and you can always create magic in your life. And really, if you look at whatever religion it is, they always talk about if you believe in your religion, you create magic in your life. They may not use the word magic, right? But God, Source, Universe, Buddha, they will always look after you. They want you to have the best life. And in my language, they want you to have a magical life. So that's my little riff on Friday 13th, and ending it on a positive note. Really, I truly believe that it's not all doom and gloom. Some days are harder than the other. But if we can all come together, shifting our own mindset, and the birds are chirping and agreeing with me in the background. If we could all come together, starting from shifting our own positive from shifting our positive mindset and beliefs from a fear-based and negative mindset to a positive, abundant mindset, we will start to see the shift. We will start to see the ripple. I've started to amplify it in my own life recently, and I'm already starting to see the shift. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you would like me to riff on any aspect of what we discussed today in more detail, feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to do the research if I don't know something, or I'll just tap into my divine channel and see what Spirit wanted me to present. So that's me for today. Love you all so much. Have a lovely week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.